wondering how I got into this mix. Mind playing tricks.
Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, and today I want to talk with you about reality and logic and reason and all of these interesting ideas. First off, I want to remind you guys to be sure to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, where you can get all of our latest content, stay plugged into everything we're doing here. You can listen to music, truth music that we've put up over the years. You can read articles, buy shirts from the store. You can also download all of my books for free, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about today. One of my books, the very first one over here, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality, which is a part of a trilogy, these 3 books here, and this 4th one that just came out this year. This book here, though, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality, you can click here, you can purchase it through me, or if you want to support Amazon, you can go to Amazon and buy it, but I would not recommend that. But you can also download the PDF. So when we download the PDF, you just click on that. It's got a nice quote from Jeffrey Tucker. You can check that out. Then you see The Conscious Resistance, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality by Derrick Broze and John Vibes. I want to talk today about Chapter 3 of this, Reality Beyond the 5 Senses, Beyond Logic, and Beyond Reason. Yesterday I did a video about QAnon and David Wilcock and Benjamin Fulford and these kind of people, and how they unfortunately ask people to blindly trust their work and to just trust what they hear from them. And, you know, based on their insider sources and things like this, there's no proof of what they're saying. And some of the things they talk about, besides just the QAnon elements, let's say more on the Wilcock, some of the things they talk about are things that I am interested in. I've grown up being curious about. You have to understand, I, as a kid, was growing up very much interested in the paranormal. And I mean, reading about paranormal activity and UFOs, and I thought I was a psychic when I was a young child. And, you know, I once I got older, I read, you know, all the Army manual documents on remote viewing. I used to study Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and ghosts and what else? Spontaneous human combustion and mysterious disappearances and all sorts of different things. Some of these things I still believe in to some different degrees, but there are some things, like let's say the Loch Ness Monster, that I used to really be interested in when I was a kid, that after a time I have to accept probably don't exist. If they did, if this picture here, the most famous picture, is accurate, then if there was a Nellie, she's no longer around. A Nessie, excuse me, a Nessie. Loch Ness Monster is no longer, you know, existing, or at least hidden very deep, we could say. And I have to accept that because there's no evidence, right? After all my years of researching and reading this as a curious kid and getting older, I just can't prove it in any way, right? So it's fun, it's fantasy, it's imaginative, and I enjoy going down those rabbit holes. I like reading about time travel and people who've claimed that they've time traveled, and even the secret space program stuff, which I do believe there's absolutely a secret space program. It just seems obvious that with all the huge black budgets and special access projects, we'll talk about that soon in an upcoming video, that, you know, there would be something like a secret space program. Are any of the people claiming to have been involved in the secret space program true, real? I don't know. I can't prove it. So I really don't spend a lot of my time going down those rabbit holes and exhausting myself trying to figure that out. So my point here is, I have spent a lot of my time being interested in the world that, you know, is outside of the normal range of accepted science. And as I've gotten older and I realized how controlled things are, I've definitely realized that there is an agenda within mainstream science to control the narrative. And this is what is often referred to as scientism. People who have come to believe in science, and if something's peer-reviewed, or if it's by somebody said it, you know, with a PhD next to their name, then it must be true, it must be safe, etc., etc., etc. And so that is, you know, one thing that I've battled against my whole life. Before I ever became aware of political conspiracies, I was interested in the paranormal type stuff, and I realized, wow, you know, not everybody is into this, and not everybody will believe this sort of thing, and, you know, sometimes it's just dismissed out of hand. They don't even look into it, right? And so I've had to experience these sort of things and knowing that that was a reality that existed. So by the time I became aware of politically and political conspiracies, I realized that, yeah, people will not look into things if they don't believe it, or if they just think it's impossible to be something. And so, yeah, that sort of thinking worked its way into this chapter here, which is called Reality Beyond the Five Senses, Beyond Logic, and Beyond Reason. Now, I want to discuss this because I wanted to distinguish what I wrote in this book, and again, this is all downloadable for free, what I wrote in this book between what people like QAnon and David Wilcock and others are saying, right? What I want to say is this. What they do, the reason I think it's dangerous is because they're discouraging people from taking action in certain ways and just putting out this image, this false narrative that, the good guys are taking care of everything and there's nothing for us regular folk to do. Everything's been taken care of. Don't worry about it. And obviously that's problematic for the reasons I listed in the QAnon video, but basically just because blindly believing in authority and not taking action in your own life is problematic because it's not going to lead you anywhere. So that's a problem, right? But I don't think it's inherently problematic for people to believe in UFOs or different races of aliens or space programs, secret space programs, or any of the different things that traditional, now accepted science does not believe in or support, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, with stepping outside of the bounds of the accepted conversation. In fact, I encourage that. What we say in this book here is that basically, if you believe something that doesn't line up with what other people consider to be logical or to fit with reason or with science, but it's something that is an experience that has affected you and that you hold dear to your heart, and it doesn't involve coercion or force, well, then what does it matter? You know what I mean? Like, if you think that or in your experience, you claim you are some alien from another planet, if you're not trying to force me into some alien cult worship religion and use force to do so, and you're just kind of living your life, but you just happen to believe that you're an alien from another planet or dimension, well, then that's fine. That really doesn't affect me. I can say, wow, I think this guy's crazy, or that doesn't fit in with my worldview. I'm just going to ignore that part of him, but maybe he's still a good friend or whatever. But as long as there's no force involved, it doesn't really matter to me, okay? So that's why we talk about here, beyond the five senses, beyond logic, beyond reason. And I want to just read some of this. The religion of materialism is the dogma that rules modern popular culture in the realm of mainstream science. The materialist believes only that which we can see, touch, smell, taste, feel, and measure quantifies reality. The materialist also believes that any discussion of what lies beyond the five senses is foolish and not worth consideration. This worldview is shaped by the unproven assumptions of mainstream science, which is important not to confuse with the scientific method. So again, this is not an attack on the scientific inquiry or method. This is just simply saying that there exists control within those realms as well, where people are going to sort of dispute certain types of things. And we go and give examples of John Anthony West and Graham Hancock and talking about, how science can reject different historical interpretations. We also talk about Rupert Sheldrake, who's an awesome scientist. You should find his band TED Talk and enjoy that. And his work on some sort of telepathic communication or connection between individuals and their pets, and the various evidence he has amassed around that idea. And again, something not accepted by mainstream science, but whether you buy into it or not, I mean, I feel like, what is it? How does it affect you if other people have the understanding of that? Because maybe some of us are simply operating on different planes of existence while having a shared reality. That's sort of kind of what I believe. There is a central reality that we all cross over and exist in, but there are different interpretations of that, and each of them, from their various experiences and their various places, the people are coming from, have some validity as long as they are not causing harm or violence on other people. I think that they can be considered legitimate if it's what somebody experiences. So let me go a little further into this. We talk about reincarnation in this book and the number of different people who've come back with memories from past lives as small children. We talk about Jim Tucker, professor of psychiatry and neurobehavioral sciences at the University of Virginia, who studied over 2,500 cases of children who report memories of past lives. And in an NPR interview, he describes how if you're stuck in a strictly materialist worldview, these phenomena don't fit into that worldview. He says, I think it's very difficult to just map these cases onto materialist understanding of reality. I mean, if the physical world is all there is, then I don't know how you can accept these cases and believe in them. But I think there are good reasons to think that consciousness can be considered a separate entity from physical reality. So then we start getting to consciousness and different aspects. We talk about quartz crystals and people's interpretation of that. We talk about Marcel Vogel. If you've never researched him, you definitely should do so. Start with our book and see where it leads you. And different interpretations of DNA and things like this. And so what we're getting at here is, again, that these different interpretations of essentially of reality, I think, and of science and what's going on in our world may all be considered to be legitimate as long as they are not initiating force or violence on individuals, right? And we talk in here in the book itself about reality and about what it looks like for individuals who are speaking from different perspectives and essentially different layers of reality to communicate. So this is from our chapter on what we call explorative agnosticism, which is basically taking a position that we should be agnostic not only towards the existence of a potential creator or God or creative force, but to a lot of different things about our world, because there's so much that are beyond the five senses and beyond our current understanding. To simply think that we have it all understood and put together is just, it's silly and it's arrogant. So in this thing, we talk about 4 individuals standing inside of a meadow, standing on a meadow, witnessing the scene from 4 different perspectives. We call these the objective, subjective, symbolic, and holistic. And we just basically go through and show how from each of these layers, each individual would interpret it differently. The objective world, the person would just notice the physical aspect. So they're going to see the color of the plants, the soil, the sky, the square footage, the type of plants, the number, their size, their height. And they are coming from a perspective of believing that things are separate. Everything is separate. They are separate from that meadow. And then as you step through each of these various progressive worlds or layers, getting all the way to the holistic world where you have become one with the meadow, and where you're experiencing your reality as the bees that are pollinating the plants, and as the plants themselves, and as the grass, and as the animals, and also as the person observing it, where everything is one. If you have those 2 people communicate from that first layer to that holistic layer, they will communicate in a way where they might not understand each other, where the person who only sees the physical cannot understand and rationalize and make sense of what somebody who is speaking from a more holistic perspective, a more connected perspective is describing. But again, as long as there's no initiation of force, I think it's important to remember that there's really nothing wrong. And here's a little bit, a little bit more about this. Our beliefs about the world should not be limited or controlled by the collective. As such, we do not care if others doubt or deny our beliefs, because we make no effort to doubt or demean the beliefs about the spiritual, non-physical world. Quite simply, our interpretations of the world beyond the 5 senses are not dependent on any one person, institution, or book. So yeah, that's kind of just where I come from. I do tend to believe in some sort of multi-layered reality. It's a shared reality, but it's also multi-layered, and different interpretations can go along with that. And for me, that's important to recognize, okay? We're not all speaking from the same place necessarily. This helps you communicate. This is another form of what I consider shamanism, being able to communicate and move between worlds. When I give talks, I speak at anarchist events, I speak at spiritual events, transformational events, small events, big events, community events, hippies, anarchists, conservatives, liberals, people who think I'm a liberal or progressive just because of the way they hear me talk. I have learned to communicate this message by moving between worlds and understanding these different perspectives. So I think by getting out of just your own perspective and your own interpretation of reality, you can really learn a lot about other people. That's all. Just wanted to share that with you. Be sure to download that book for free if you haven't had a chance to, or purchase it. I appreciate all that. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Please consider signing up on patreon.com/Derrick Broze. I'll have more videos coming out this week. Remember, you're powerful, you're beautiful, you're free. Peace.